Well, when I first met Grandpa, I thought he thought he was very funny. And I thought he was kind of, oh, okay. But I had heard a lot about Corny Bookout from the other girls at both hospitals. And I thought, what's so great about this guy, you know? But we started dating, but I didn't really like him at first.
Okay, to tell you a little bit about when we were married, this was in 1950, and we were going to go up and see my sister and brother who lived in Missoula, Montana. And Mickey asked her mother if she could go, and she said yes. And so we started out and we drove all day and part of the night to get to Missoula, Montana from Rapid City, South Dakota. Hot Springs, South Dakota. And we got there, and after we'd been there a while, they knew, of course, that I was going into the service. And they said, well, why don't you get married? I said, well, we have kind of discussed this, but we thought, well, it would be better for her if I just waited till I got out of the service. They said, no, I think you should get married now. And so we talked it over and decided that, okay, we'd get married. So we went to their church and talked to their pastor, and he said, yeah, we can have the wedding. And so we had the wedding, and our attendance was tremendous. We had Andy and Neva and BC and her husband there, and that was the crowd at our wedding. And there was no to-dos and no big dresses, just our regular clothes, and we were married and lived happily ever after.
Well, evidently I feel a lot of love for him because I've been married to him for almost 59 years. And we've had a good marriage, I think. And he's a very good provider. He's a good person. And I love him dearly.
I was drafted into the service. I didn't have any desire to be in the Navy or the Army or the Marines or the Coast Guard. Wherever they put me was fine. I was left Hot Springs, South Dakota, and where we lived at that time. And I had 6 months to finish high school. When it was my time to go, they took me to Fort Snelling. This was my first train ride, however, and it was quite an experience because we lived right across the street from the train track, so we could watch the trains, but I never did go on a train until that time, and we got on the train and went to Fort Snelling, which is outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. And there I was inducted into the service, and they, as I remember, they gave me a 6 months deferment to finish high school. So I came back and did finish high school in June of that year, and this was in 1944, I think, when I was drafted. And I was 1A when I was drafted. Then I got to Fort Snelling, and the war was over with Germany at that time. And so consequently, they were sending troops home from Germany. The war was still going with Japan. And so they were discharging a lot of men at that time out of Fort Snelling. There were only about 20 of us from our area, Fall River County and Shannon County. There was only 20 of us that went to be drafted into the service. Well, as it happened, 10 of us stayed in the service, and 10 of us were sent back home. Well, I was a little disturbed about this because I had said goodbye to my family, goodbye to my friends, because I was off to war, which we were, of course, with war with Japan. So I didn't know where I was going to be stationed or where I was going. And all at once, I was 4F, which was a classification of something that was maybe medically wrong with me. Maybe I couldn't see straight. Maybe I had flat feet. I don't know, you know. So I was a little disturbed that they were sending me back to Hot Springs. And so I went in to see the captain, who was a medical doctor, and ask him what the problem was. I was 1A when I came, and they deferred me for 6 months, and now you tell me I'm 4F. What is the problem? And he told me, well, you have chronic Uranus. And I said, oh, is that very serious? And he said, no, not too bad, but he said, that's the reason you're a 4F. So I went back home, and I'm sure it was years later that I even thought about it.